In a recent video, I discussed the exceptional accomplishments and life of Eileen Gu and what made it all so impressive, but I do feel like I need to follow it up quickly. Her story inspires many parents because she's an idealized case for highly involved parenting. I think every parent wants to believe that they can have this outsized impact on their child's life, that the more they invest into that child, the richer their lives will ultimately be. That you can always do more as a parent if you put more time or money into raising them, if you put more time into making more money, and you give them better opportunities. But it's important to remember that Eileen is an exception that proves the rule. In her case, everything did go right. She and her mom pulled out at all of the stops to make this happen, and that's super commendable of them. I stand by what I said before, and I do feel like they deserve all of that success. They've earned their unique privilege, and they're using it responsibly and resourcefully. However, it's frankly impossible for every child to be exceptional. Sad as it is, we can't all be winners in the game of resources and opportunity. More than that, it's rare for children to be quick studies in the same way as Eileen. All of us navigate the better part of our childhoods with confusion and insecurities, and it just takes time for us to grow into adulthood. It takes a process of making mistakes, learning, and relearning until we become self-aware enough to feel comfortable in our own skin. For most of us, getting on the same page as our parents is not this straightforward process where we're able to instinctively trust and understand what our parents are trying to instill. Adult life is actually pretty counterintuitive and inherently requires managing dysfunction. For most of us, we have to experience enough to appreciate what it actually takes to support our own existence and manage our own lives. This isn't really a learning process parents can control. Sometimes it comes together really smoothly, as with Eileen. Her mother really had it together, and she clearly had a really good relationship with Eileen. I feel like with Eileen, she definitely knows how to handle a big stage and how to handle criticism, and she can answer the difficult questions. She's definitely not innocent, but I feel like she has had the luxury of fast-tracking through a lot of the awkwardness. I feel like she handles dysfunction by being highly functional and rising above it. But once again, that's not always a realistic option for everyone else. What I noticed in the families around me growing up, the most high-functioning and high-performing parents always took extraordinary care to remove distractions, to distance their children from others who might cause them to second-guess the narrow and positive and high-functioning worldview that these parents were trying to create. Raising a high-performance kid is a really big production. In my last video, I expressed regret that I didn't fully appreciate the opportunity and richness associated with my Taiwanese and Chinese heritage, that I regretted thinking that it was irrelevant. I really do feel that way, but it's really only a fleeting regret, because at the end of the day, it really wasn't that relevant at the time. The upbringing that I had is not uncommon to many Americans. I had that dysfunctional home life, and I didn't have the resources and the opportunities and the same type of nurturing as Eileen or of some of my peers. And that's more than fine. My parents worked hard, and in many ways they gave me everything that I needed and more. But like with many children, because they were a dysfunctional pairing, I had to learn from them, and I had to learn around them to really get the whole picture that I needed. And that's more than fine. As a child, you learn from your mistakes, and you learn from your parents' mistakes. We can't all be picture perfect. It's just more roundabout is all. Life doesn't always hand you challenging and character-building opportunities to overcome. Sometimes it's just adversity, and you have to manage, and you actually have to fight just to make sure that it doesn't turn you into a worse person. For the most part, life is just work. Everyone works hard. And never mind not having opportunity. Often, if you're not from a privileged background, you have to cope with setbacks as well. In my own way, I still feel like I took what life gave to me and I made the most out of it to the best of my ability, which is also fundamentally a very American, a very universal way of life. Just as Eileen and her mother were able to tap into a unique wealth of experience, there's richness in all lives. I'm not just one pivotal misstep away from being someone who could have embraced Chinese language and culture. That might have been a really nice concept when I was really young, But since then, there's been several successive forks in the road of my life, and like most aspects of Eileen's life, it's really just a fantasy and a luxury to most people. Most of us don't have that type of control over our lives, and for most of us, life just happens. Sometimes you and your parents are on top of circumstances, and sometimes it's the other way around. I feel like life happens is not really a theme in Eileen's life. None of this should take away from what Eileen and her mother have made out of her life. Truly, the way they have approached it is ideal. There's no unnecessary difficulty in slowdowns and suffering, and the end product is a testament to their model. I highly encourage every parent to draw inspiration from their story. Eileen is exceptional, but she's the exception that proves the rule, and it just isn't possible for everyone. And that's more than fine.